Hi, welcome to episode 203 of your favorite daily podcast, A Couple of Things, a podcast about things. Today, I'm going to talk about negativity bias. I was reflecting a couple of days ago about when I just moved to the Netherlands and how it was, when I look back, it's often tinted like really badly, but it wasn't actually so bad. So a few days ago, I was watching a podcast interview that I did with my friend for her podcast, and in it I mentioned about how long it took me to find a house, and it made me remember like previously before that time when I always talked about getting a house in the Netherlands. In my memory, it was like 3 months and it was very horrible, and I saw like hundreds of houses, and I finally found one after 3 months of crying and everything. Turns out that it was actually 3 weeks. When I checked my email for when I got into the Netherlands, because I officially started looking for an apartment when I moved here, and when I paid my deposit, it was actually 3 weeks in between. Just 3 weeks. Now, what made it seem so bad and terrible in my mind and made me remember it as worse than it actually was everything in between. So I got an apartment in 3 weeks, but I couldn't move in for another 4 or 5 weeks. And so because of that, in my mind, it felt like, wow, it took so long. Another thing that made it really seem really bad was that I almost got 2 apartments. And I remember crying very hard when I didn't get the second one, because I was just so tired and over it, because it was January, it was winter, and I was in this new country with people speaking a language that I didn't understand and everything. So all of those other things made that experience of house searching seem really bad. Like, I only went to view maybe 4 or 5 houses and I found an apartment in 3 weeks. That is a miraculous story for finding an apartment in the Netherlands. But for the longest time, I imagined that scenario as worse than it actually was. So why am I talking about this now? Looking at that experience just made me think about many other times where I look back at something and in my mind it was more negative than it actually was in real life. And this is the human negativity bias thing, or this is an example of where it comes to play. It's also why if you go to a restaurant or you experience a service and it's mostly good, but there's one bad thing that really annoyed you, it colors the entire experience, and your rating of it or your remembrance of it is that it was terrible, the restaurant was really bad, and nothing was great. It's why we remember more traumatic things than we remember happy memories. It's why even though everybody can live, you can have 1,000 positive comments on your post, on your video, about your book or whatever, that one negative comment, that one person who was like, this is not all that, is the thing that you keep dwelling on and you keep your mind on and you keep ruminating on and meditating on, and then you now feel like, what am I even doing? Even though, again, maybe you had 1,000 positive comments, is that one negative one that your mind will be fixated on. Is the reason why you could be having an amazing day and maybe somebody steps on your feet, or you overhear somebody saying something rude or whatever, then your whole day is ruined. And then you're like, oh, how was your day? Then you'd be like, it was terrible because of just that one bad thing that happened. Or not even bad, mildly annoying. Hi, it's me, reminding you to subscribe and also to send questions so that I have more things to talk about. The link to submit questions is in the show notes. Okay, let's get back into the episode. It's why we focus on bad news, there are earthquakes, and this is happening and that is happening, over the positive things that are happening in the world. And it's why even if you have a great performance review or you get great feedback from your spouse, your friend, whomever, and there's just one thing that they feel like, oh, you can improve on this thing, all your attention is on that one thing that you should improve on, and not even taking the positive feedback that, oh, you're doing all these other things great. There's a lot of explanations about it. There's like evolutionary psychology perspective on it, about like, oh, it's to keep us safe, because like if you're running away from animals or whatever, like being aware of the potential negative things in the environment, things that are bad, things that are dangerous to you, is how you keep yourself alive and safe or whatever. I don't know, it's one of the theories. There are other theories, but the important thing and the reason why I'm sharing all of this, and is also what I was reflecting on when I remembered the whole thing about my apartment searching, is that we can actually overcome the negativity bias. I remember usually when I was talking about my 2022, I was always just talking about how it was so hard and how it was horrible and how it was bad and everything. And then one day I just felt like God was like, go and open your gratitude journal. And I went to open my gratitude journal, and literally for 365 days of 2022, I had at least 3 things I was thankful for. And when I was looking through it, I was like, wow, I had forgotten that all of these things had happened and all of these things I was grateful for. Because again, your brain just focuses on the times where everything was terrible. And yeah, there are some explanations for it. But if you constantly dwell there, then you start to even lose perspective on the things that are positive, or the things that were not so bad, or the things that were kind of neutral. So it's very important, at least what I'm trying to do now, I'm very happy that I have a practice of daily gratitude where I write in my journal every day, at least 3 things I'm thankful for. And that is one thing that helps me when I'm going into this downward spiral of like everything is crap, whatever. I just remember the positive things. I go to my gratitude journal because I don't have to then rely on my brain. I go to my gratitude journal, read stuff. I go and read like all the nice things. I have clippings and screenshots and things of like all the nice things people have said to me about my work and how it has impacted them. So whenever I'm feeling down in the dumps or whatever, I go and look at those things like, okay, these are good things. Yes, maybe that one person said your podcast is crap. Nobody has said that to me though. But I'll just give you an example. But there are other people that are like, oh, I love listening to your podcast, and I can focus on that instead. And this is not about like ignoring constructive criticism or whatever. It's just about not always dwelling on the negatives and like not repeating or meditating on negative thoughts and self-thought. And I think I touched a bit on this on the episode of like positive thinking and toxic positivity, because there's a difference between like not letting everything have a negative, not looking at the world through like negative tinted glasses or whatever, and also just caring for yourself as a person and not drowning in negativity, whether internally or from other people. I also touched a bit on it on the episode on optimism, and I will link to both in the show notes. But that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Bye. Thank you for listening to today's episode of A Couple of Things. If there was anything you found interesting or insightful, or you enjoyed the episode, please do share to someone or multiple people. Like, leave a comment, and definitely do subscribe and all the nice things. Bye.